This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Friday, May 15th. This is Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees. So our broadcast will look a little different today and in the near future as we, out of an abundance of caution, reduce our staffing at VOA headquarters here in Washington. We're working to help keep you informed about what's going on, and we appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. Global deaths from COVID-19 passed a grim milestone Friday. More than 300,000 people have now died from the highly contagious virus, and the total worldwide infections is nearing 4.5 million, according to the latest Reuters tally. The United States continues to lead the world with more than 25% of all fatalities and more than 85,000 deaths. Britain and Italy account for another 10 and 11% each, while France and Spain each account for 9% of all coronavirus deaths. The number of deaths linked to the COVID-19 pandemic in just 4 months is now equal to about 75% of the number of people who die annually from malaria, one of the world's most deadly infectious diseases. Now to the continent, where the president's office in South Sudan is reporting its first coronavirus death, but details of the victim were not released. South Sudan is now confirming a total of at least 230 cases of COVID-19, and for the first time, the disease has been detected inside a packed protection site in the capital, Juba, according to Reuters. In South Africa, Health Minister Zweli Mkhize says the country is assigning multiple levels of virus lockdown restrictions for the nation's 50 districts. Mkhize says officials will review the restrictions for each district every 2 weeks, and he added that the country is moving away from its one-size-fits-all approach. South Africa imposed one of the world's strictest lockdowns in late March, only allowing people to leave their homes under a narrow set of circumstances, such as buying food or seeking medical help. The global coronavirus pandemic is forcing many schools to switch to online learning, but in developing countries like Nigeria, millions of children without remote learning access are now being left behind. 40% of Nigerians live on less than $1 per day, and only 1 in 4 have internet access. Ifyok Itang reports from Nigeria.
13-year-old Charity, Yakubu's older sister, has been playing the role of teacher since March, when the coronavirus outbreak led Nigeria to close schools.
I feel very sad because I don't get to learn new things. All the things I've learned, I've forgotten them. So I want government to help us. By God's grace, let this coronavirus pandemic finish so that everyone can get to go back to school.
Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics says only 1 in 4 Nigerians have internet access, but 3 out of 4 have mobile phones. Nigerian educators say while some have been able to switch to online and social media learning, there are challenges.
Looking at the cost of data and even the devices to use for effective learning, it is a bit problematic to Nigerians. So I think if the government can do something about it, it will go a long way to help.
With 40% of Nigerians living on less than $1 a day, the added cost makes remote learning for the vast majority out of reach.
They have said that parents should begin to teach children at home, but I don't know how to read and I don't know where to start.
Making matters worse, the pandemic's restrictions have cost many their jobs, including Yakubu's mother, Salome.
There is no money. We are even looking for money for food. Where is the money to buy a good phone for them to learn on the internet?
To help bridge the education gap, Nigeria is broadcasting lessons on state media, while children wait for the pandemic to slow enough to allow schools to reopen. Ifyok Etang for VOA News, Jos, Nigeria.
Virtually every country in the world is suffering a severe economic downturn due to the coronavirus pandemic, but some nations are faring better than others in mitigating the impact on businesses and workers. VOA's Brian Padden reports that advanced countries that have moved aggressively to contain the outbreak are coping better economically, while developing nations lacking resources to protect the vulnerable are most at risk.
South Korea, Singapore, and Vietnam are examples of countries that acted early and effectively to contain the coronavirus outbreak by shuttering businesses, implementing widespread testing, and tracing people exposed to the virus. As a result, economists say, these nations are having the most success reopening their economies.
If that's in place, that as you reopen the economy, you actually can foster confidence, because among the unknowns here are the way that consumers are going to respond to a gradual reopening.
Advanced countries in Asia, Europe, and North America have engaged in massive relief efforts to compensate businesses and workers for the loss of income during economic shutdowns. Countries like Germany have kept unemployment relatively low by reimbursing companies to keep idle workers on the payroll. In the United States, which is experiencing massive job losses, worker benefits are channeled through unemployment programs. But gaps in these programs have left many Americans increasingly dependent on food assistance. Developing countries struggling with widespread poverty before the pandemic have been hit especially hard by the steep decline in global exports and world tourism. Warning of a hunger pandemic, the United Nations has appealed for nearly $7 billion in humanitarian aid to help those most at risk.
Humanitarian aid is not just a moral imperative. It is a practical necessity to combat the virus. If COVID-19 wreaks havoc in the poorest places, we are all at risk.
Despite a growing need for economic assistance, fiscal conservatives are increasingly resistant to boosting U.S. government debt that already has ballooned by the trillions of dollars since the pandemic began. They warn that runaway spending will necessitate tax increases and austerity measures that will slow economic growth for years to come.
If we see that people are not going back to work, then there's going to be need for further assistance. And at that point, you start to get fatigue is one of the things that you'll hear mentioned.
But until a coronavirus vaccine or reliable treatment is developed, economists say it remains difficult to forecast how long or how severe the economic downturn will be. And they warn reopening businesses too early could prolong the crisis. Brian Padden, VOA News, Washington.
As the global race to find a vaccine against the coronavirus intensifies, medical researchers are looking for people to participate in clinical trials to test potential vaccines in humans. One such study is taking place at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, one of America's leading research institutions. VOA's Heidi Adams-Fitzpatrick spoke to a man who signed up for Emory's clinical trial. Jack Crost is a senior digital writer at the Weather Company. She began by asking Crost what's involved, what the risks are, and why he's doing it.
I want to get this immunity, so it's possible I will benefit. I'm betting that the virus is worse than the vaccine. And from what I've heard, there haven't been any serious side effects in the initial small group of people that have been tested.
So, Jack, there are 3 phases to this trial, and you're waiting to hear if they're going to include you in the second phase, where they're going to be testing whether or not the vaccine is actually effective. What are they telling you about the risks involved, and what exactly makes a good candidate?
Yes, it definitely is a risk. They're very clear that they don't know what the risks are, and that's why they're doing these trials. Even after they determine, Emory University determines that there are no risks, it would have to go through FDA approval, and that would be even more rigorous. You know, initially you're screened to check on your medical condition. They take 2 sets of blood work, other tests, they go over your medical history, and then if they determine that you're a good candidate, then they'll give you the vaccine. Then about a month later, they'll give you another shot of it, a booster shot. Then after that, you go back first in a week, then in a couple of weeks, then in a month, then in a couple of months, then in 6 months, and finally a year. First, they want to see how you're doing, And secondly, they want to see whether you're developing antibodies, whether you're developing immunity to the virus. So you aren't being exposed to the virus. They just want to see if your body is getting a reaction to the vaccine.
And what are you learning about how a vaccine trial actually works?
Now, this is fairly new technology. In a way, it's sort of artificial. They use a technique called RNA sequencing. Your body's cells respond by creating a viral protein that mimics the coronavirus. So your body thinks it has coronavirus, and it's hoped you develop antibodies to it. So it's different from a flu shot in that you're not being injected actually with COVID-19. Now, I don't know whether that makes it safer. I'm hoping it does. But the unique thing about this vaccine is that it's faster to develop in only 42 days. But even though that was fast, it still takes a long time to go through these trials. They expect at least a year before they determine whether it works and whether it's safe. They started with one group in Seattle, and then they're doing more trials with another group in Atlanta. And then in addition to that, there's several different age groups. They started with 18 to 55-year-olds. They have better immune systems. And then right now they're moving on to 56 to 70-year-olds. I have to admit, I'm in that group. And then after that, they'll be moving on to 70-year-olds and older.
Jack, are there moments when you have second thoughts or when you wonder whether or not you're doing the right thing?
Yes, I do. I tried to weigh it, and it seemed to me like the advantages of doing this outweighed the disadvantages. I'm hoping they call me up, and I will be in touch with them to check on my status. And I think I'm going to do this.
That was VOA's Heidi Adams-Fitzpatrick reporting. Kenya-based reporter Rudy Elmendorp was visiting a friend in Tanzania in March when the country confirmed its first COVID-19 infection. Neighboring countries closed their borders, including Kenya, and for the last 6 weeks, he's been stuck in Dar es Salaam. Luckily, Elmendorp's friend runs a beachside resort, leaving him trapped in paradise.
There are worse places to be locked down because of the coronavirus than a beach resort in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. I came here in March to visit a friend who has a beach lodge in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. But as soon as I entered the country, Tanzania reported its first case of the coronavirus. And soon after, countries around Tanzania closed their borders. And since then, I've been trapped for 7 weeks. Trapped in paradise. While some people are struggling to work remotely, I don't mind the view from my new office. But since the number of confirmed infections is still going up, I don't know how long I'll have to stay here. I've been separated from my girlfriend, who's alone in the house we built together back in Nairobi.
I miss you too.
We're holding strong, but don't know where this pandemic is headed. When borders open up, either I'll head back to Nairobi or my girlfriend will come here. She could probably use a vacation. And as long as I can find work, I wouldn't mind being stuck here a bit longer. Ruud Elmendorp for VOA News, Dar es Salaam.
We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, a new music video with a message from one of Rwanda's top reggae stars, Jack Murigande. We'll be right back after this break.
Chibwana chimalata
Welcome back to Africa 54. A new generation of entrepreneurs are launching startups that focus on honing mobile technology by creating tech-based products and solutions, including mobile money and online payments. SchoolPay, a Ugandan fintech company, is making it easy for parents to pay school fees online, but COVID-19 is making it difficult to do so. Africa 54's Bondiho spoke to Kiza Joseph, co-founder of the School Pay Up.
Kiza Joseph, welcome to Africa 54. How are you?
I'm very well, Paul. It's good to be here.
How is this COVID-19 crisis affecting you and your business?
It is pretty clear all schools are now closed. And when they are closed, that would mean there is hardly any financial transaction that is happening in terms of schools. We've had a net effect of about 95% fall in transactions.
How many schools students use your platform?
So the platform currently serves over 6,000 schools with over 2 million students using the platform across all the markets that we work with. The platform, on average, if I look at the figures for 2019 and 2018, we've been moving about $300 million annually in education payments. And we were hoping in 2020 to grow this figure to about 500 million. Obviously, that's not going to happen now because of this COVID-19. Yeah, but we are hoping when we resume, we'll be able to pick up from where we left.
You run a fintech company, SchoolPay. How is that going?
We are a fintech running an education value chain platform in East Africa and a bit of South Africa. And when I say East Africa, I am talking Uganda, I am talking of a presence in Kenya, I am talking of a presence in Tanzania, I am speaking Ethiopia and Zambia. Now, we started out by looking at the pain points in the education value chain. And the pain points are in relation to the parent, in relation to the schools. If you like, the frustration that the parents, that the guardians out there had when they were paying school fees in Africa. And so what we did was try and alleviate those pain points. On average, before we came into play, it used to cost about $10 to $15 to make a $50 payment of school fees. And then, of course, that cost would come through, the cost of transport. You would have to hop onto a taxi or a bus to go and pay school fees at the school. And we have reduced that from about $10 to $15 for a $50 payment to 30 cents. We are talking mothers, we are talking farmers, we are talking elderly people that would have to, leave whatever it is that they've been doing for a full day to go and pay school fees. So the financial cost alone and the social cost was something that was unbearable. So we came in and have now reduced that social cost
When I talk to a lot of people in the tech industry, they tell me that in order to survive this COVID, they have come up with innovative ways to make revenue. What is it that you've done on your part to stay afloat?
Our view on this is that the education industry has not closed. It has not died out. It's shifted, and that shift is you don't really have to be going to school. You probably can do this online. Now, what we've decided to do is to actually speed up that development. In about a month from now, we will be having a fully fledged ERP system that offers typical e-learning capabilities. And then what we are looking at is building an interaction between students and their teachers, perhaps teachers and students and their schools. And we believe that in all that, there will still be exchange of value. I mean, someone needs to pay for an online course. Someone needs to pay to pick up the grades that are done at school, still be relevant in that space. And so if the market moves that direction, we will be moving with it.
Earlier, you talked about how you've transcended across borders. I'm just curious if you have any of your staff members stuck out there.
Our model is when we set up in a country, we largely recruit people in that country to work for us. So if you like, in all the countries, we have residents and citizens of those countries working for us. We were just a little lucky that our techies that had just come back from the Zambian market, it would have been a disaster for us.
Kiza Joseph, thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine.
That was Africa 54's Paul Ndiho speaking to Kiza Joseph, co-founder of the School Pay Up in Kampala, Uganda. Being in COVID-19 lockdown hasn't kept a British trainer from keeping up her outdoor workouts. A couple on her street asked to join in, and now the entire neighborhood is participating in the unorthodox group exercise classes. VOA's Dora McQuarrie reports.
The open street is trainer Elise Bemming's latest exercise studio. And neighbors she didn't know before the pandemic now regularly join her.
It made sense for me to just come out every morning, do a workout to motivate myself, if anything, to keep a structure. And whilst I was out here, two of the elderly residents walking past every morning, you know, everyone's hi, you're getting to know everyone. And they just said to me, would you come and do a street workout?
Stop it. Blemmings is used to streaming her workout sessions online. Now that she's sharing her motivational talents closer to home, her impromptu classes attract people of all ages.
So the people that have come out, they've basically come out because they know that they're going to get their heart rate lifted, they're going to have some endorphins, and they're going to go back in their house and think, I feel better today.
Not only are the workouts lifting spirits and keeping people fit, they're also introducing neighbors to each other for the very first time.
It's just fun, and one of the most important things is, apart from the fact it's social, we've got to know neighbours that we don't really know. We're waving, aren't we, to neighbours, but we've never spoken to before.
The exercise sessions have become an unexpected highlight of the lockdown for Blemmings neighbors.
It's good for everyone's spirit, old or young. We're at the older age, and the young ones are out as well.
Blemmings hopes the community bonds formed by the workouts will continue after the lockdown ends.
I think it's going to be very hard to go back to absolutely normal when people have been outside doing jumping jacks in front of each other. Let's be honest, everyone looked ridiculous today. I was waving a marigold around and a flip-flop and a punching glove, and people were doing this in the street and that. So if they go back to just ignoring each other, that's just weird.
Dora McQuarrie, VOA News, Washington.
In our entertainment segment, one of Rwanda's most outstanding reggae stars, Jack Murigande, released a highly anticipated new song and music video after nearly a decade in the making. It's a new style reggae tune with a strong message. VOA Music Time in Africa host Heather Maxwell reached out to Mighty Popo, as he's popularly known in Kigali, to find out more. The song was released on all global platforms on May 1st. Hello, Heather.
Hi, Esther. So I have Popo Murigande on the line. He's in Kigali, Rwanda. Hi, Popo.
Hello, Heather.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm thankful. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Your new music video and song, tell me what the name is and what it means.
Oh, my new single is called Rugwaga Sabo Baraka. Rugwaga Sabo is just another way of saying Rwanda.
Okay.
And then Baraka, it's Swahili for blessing. So Rwandan blessing.
What is the song about? What is the message?
So this new song is about humility. Pretty much calling on all Rwandans, first of all, you know, to try to be humble enough to try to put our hands together and rebuild our country properly. You know how, actually we are in a month of commemoration of the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi people of Rwanda, in 1994.
we are into the commemorations, 100 days from April 7th. So it's calling on everybody, everyone from any walk of life, to come together and instead of criticizing our country, for no reason, for the sake of arguing, instead of doing that, why don't we join hands and trying to build our country properly?
That is just beautiful, Popo. I love watching and hearing all this beauty. So tell me what makes this a new kind of a reggae sound?
Well, it's a really good question because I've been trying to come up with my own way of fusing reggae with Rwandan rhythms, and it's not your easiest thing to do because our time signature here musically is a little odd. We have 3 4 6 4 6 8 and 5 8. So somehow I find a 6 4 and a 3 4, can blend nicely and easily, where you can fit in the reggae vibe, the reggae bang, the reggae shuffling. We can use our Rwandan rhythm, and then we can actually decorate it with reggae elements.
So, Popo, the dance.
Oh, Ikinimba is one of the dances we have in Rwanda. Yeah.
I remember this dance. Do you remember, for all of you who are watching, I went to visit Rwanda in 2016, and I was with Popo for the entire trip. And I remember the first time I saw that dance, and I was just blown away and so amazed.
When you came to our school, thank you again for coming. We still have those videos of you dancing. And you can break a move, you can dance. We get to show you how elegant you are,
It's gorgeous.
We are one of the few countries in Africa that don't use hips. We use the upper body a lot.
Well, this is just so much fun to watch with you, Popo, who's all the way there in Kigali while I'm here in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much. Love your music. We look forward to seeing more and hearing more from this new reggae sound you've got.
Thank you very much, and enjoy, everyone. Peace to the world.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a great weekend.